Neil, I was really looking forward to watching Sadiq White in the exhibition opener. Obviously, we saw Kiyan Anthony make his debut. We saw Luke Fennell make his debut, but obviously Sadiq White is a big-time freshman coming in for the Orange. So what do you make of this news, and how do you view his fit in the rotation?
Well, as always, Jackson, thanks for having me on, brother. Appreciate it. I take exhibitions with somewhat of it's you looking to see who's getting time, who's doing what, but I don't get too hung up positive or negative one way or the other. The larger issue for that, area to monitor for me would be, is Sadiq going to be, fully healthy in time for the actual season, which starts on Monday at home against Binghamton. And it sounds like he'll be available on Wednesday against Pace, the Pace Setters, that's like the coolest name ever, right? The Pace Setters. What does he bring to the rotation? Obviously, that's a little TBD because he hasn't played in a game yet. But as you mentioned, high 4-star, just outside 5-star range in the 2025 class. It's from Charlotte, played his senior year at IMG, which is where Donnie Freeman played, and others that have gone on to Syracuse played in the past. Just outside, I think he's highest ranking. I don't remember which recruiting service was, but he was like 26. He was inside the top 20 for a bit, but anyway, he's inside the top 30, well inside the top 30. And I think for Syracuse, the biggest thing that he's going to bring, at least initially, is defense. He's hyper athletic. He gets above the rim. I don't think he's a great outside shooter, but I hope I'm proven wrong. But he can score around the rim and in the mid range. But it's on the defensive end. It's rebounding. And has been said of his from other players or from the coaching staff, even though he's a true freshman and hasn't played a collegiate game yet, he's bringing like real high energy and leadership. And like, those are qualities that are, well, all the guys should be high energy, or, so to speak. But I think he could be a real leader of this team. Maybe not initially. I mean, this is JJ Starling's team and Nate George and Donnie, but it'll be interesting to see how much, and we talked about this on one of your last pods, how much time he plays. Is he playing straight up at the 4? Is he playing some at the 3? Is he playing some at the 5? But yeah, he's gonna come off the bench initially, but I think he's gonna bring a lot to the table, especially on the defensive end, for a team that, as we've talked about, struggled on the defensive end last year.
When I saw this news, and by the way, I wasn't necessarily worried about Sadiq White and his health for the season opener, because I understand that any sort of minor tweak or minor injury, you got to hold him out for an exhibition game. This is not the Final Four. This is not March Madness. This is not even a regular season game. This game straight up doesn't count. So any other nicks and bruises whatsoever, I mean, stay on the side of caution. Just hold him out. Get him ready. If he only plays like 5-10 minutes against Pace tomorrow, that's totally fine. But just have him ready to go for the next game. But for the exhibition game against Buffalo, I keep going back to the second half when Syracuse had a big lead and Adrian Autry subbed in most of his starters. And then the starters proceeded to nearly cough up the entire lead in general. It was a 4-point game with about a minute to go. You know who I think could have helped stop that from happening?
Sadiq White.
Sadiq White. You know why? Because A, he's a good defender. That's what we have been told about him. So he could have prevented more Buffalo baskets.
Right.
Great. Because Syracuse at that point, I will acknowledge, they weren't shooting as well, but I haven't really necessarily brought up the shooting when it comes to it, but they were not shooting as well.
Right.
So not shooting as well, you obviously need to play better defense to counteract that. So that's one way Sadiq White helped in the exhibition game. And number two, it's what you said about his energy. He's really balanced. He's really athletic. He's going to run up and down the floor. And overall, he seems like someone who can be a really awesome hype man, but I don't mean it in some sort of demeaning way. Like, he's a really talented player that Syracuse is getting, but he could also kind of be that spark plug for Syracuse. So have these moments where it looks like it's just dull on the court, and I'm not going to sit here and say they don't care, but it looks like they're kind of just going through the motions.
It's a little stagnant,
Like Sadiq White in the game, and all of a sudden, I can really snap my fingers. But you get the point. It's like, all right, everyone wakes up, because this is someone who's going to go absolutely nuts on the floor, run up and down. Overall, Sadiq White back, healthy for Syracuse. Obviously, great news for the Orange moving forward. Neil, I want to get your thoughts on the exhibition game. Your boy Tyler Betsey, he looked pretty good out.
I mean, I'm everyone just needs to drop comments and on the show saying how smart I am. No, not really, because I'm usually not that smart at all. No, I just like when we talked on one of your last pods, I'm high on Tyler again. Having covered him for Loud House when he was being recruited by Syracuse, I probably even saw some of his games at showcases where it was available on streaming or maybe TV. He played at St. Thomas More, but yeah, I just think he's kind of fits the mold, kind of like with Sadiq. I don't know. I assume Tyler probably weighs a little bit more just because he's a year older, but like they're like what 6'8", 6'9" maybe, just long, athletic. And Tyler, I know he didn't shoot well last year, but he barely played at Cincinnati. So like I kind of just like whatever. But the fact that he scored 14 points, I think it was 5 of 7 from the field, 3 of 3 from deep. Again, I don't at least initially see him starting, but I see him as being the number one guy off the bench, potentially. I mean, or Sadiq or Kiyan or Swar. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But I don't know. I think Betsey is, but that's the thing is if Betsey's the first guy off the bench, and we talked about this, recently, who's he subbing in for? Is he subbing in for Nate King? Because Nate Kings was 3 or 4 for shooting the ball. But yeah, I think whatever. Regardless of how the minutes are divided up, I think Betsey, if he plays, and I'm not saying he's going to go 3 of 3 from deep every game because he's not going to shoot 1,000, he's not going to make every shot he makes from deep. But I think he'll be real instrumental in this team. I've said it from the beginning, and I know Donnie Freeman talked about him being a sleeper, an X factor or whatever, but he's a good player. He's a good player. That was a really good portal win, and that was late in the cycle, and it kind of came out of nowhere because I usually hear rumblings about certain guys they're going after, and it just, I don't know if Joe Tipton or whoever broke it from Rivals or 24/7 Sports and was like, Tyler Betsey commits to Syracuse, and I'm like, what? Where did that come from? I didn't even know they were talking about one. Yeah.
He wasn't on the radar.
So anyway, yeah. So I think Tyler will be a key part of this team.
What I would say on the podcast a lot last year, sorry to bring up last year, but I'm not talking about in terms of the results of the team.
Yeah.
But I would frequently bring this up when it came to players playing time.
Right.
If you can shoot, you will play. If you can defend, you will play.
Agreed.
If you can't do either of those things,
you won't.
Then you better be really excellent in other areas of the game. You basically better be JJ Starling, who can still score 15 to 20 points.
Yeah,
so he's a positive on the floor.
Yep.
Otherwise, what's your value? If you can't shoot and you can't defend, what are you? Right. Are you a rebounder? Well, that would require you to really be a center. Are you a center in that case? If you're not a center, I don't know what your value is if you can't shoot and you can't defend. So when it comes to Tyler Betsey, if he can shoot, Neil, I don't necessarily know if he's going to be the quote-unquote first guy off the bench. But if he can shoot, he will play. It's as simple as that. If you can shoot, you will play. Because I've never heard a basketball team ever say, we got too many shooters. We got too many guys that can shoot the basketball at a high level. We need to sub those players out, and we need to put in players that can't shoot the ball. Have you ever heard that before? Or maybe I'm going nuts. Maybe this is one of those moments where people will comment and say that I'm crazy. I get that a lot. That's okay. But you could shoot.
Opinions vary. No, I agree with you, Jackson. And I was just looking up here because I didn't have the box score memorized. But so Tyler, he scored in the 14, but he played 20 minutes. So he played 1 more minute than Nate Kings, who's a starter, but then obviously the other 4 main starters, and then Kiyan was right there as well. So yeah, regardless of who's like first, as long as William Kyle if he's getting 10 to 9 every game, like I'll take that. But I feel like if you're putting the center spot to the side, so to speak, in terms of reserves, I feel like the 3 main, if you're going to have like a core 8-man rotation, as the season progresses, it's going to be those 5 and then Kiyan, Sadiq, and Tyler Betsey.